Good evening, everyone. I really want to thank everyone for coming on last-minute notice. I'm joined today by Congressmember Dan Goldman. I'm joined by my colleagues in government, Councilmember Alexa Vilas, who chairs the Immigration Committee, Councilmember Sean Abreu, and I'm joined by Murad Awadam, President of the New York Immigration Coalition. I first of all want to say that earlier today, federal immigration officials detained an employee of the New York City Council. This morning, this employee went in for a routine court appearance in Bethpage, Long Island. But a regular check-in quickly went awry. He was taken in and he was moved to a detention center. We learned about this very disturbing situation late this afternoon when this employee called the City Council HR department for help and told them he had been detained. He was given, I want to be clear, one call, and he called the City Council for help. We are doing everything in our power to secure his immediate release. We have since learned that he has been transferred to the detention center on Varick Street. I spoke with the Deputy Field Office Director of the Department of Homeland Security tonight, both to express my extreme frustration at the situation and demand information on why a council employee was detained. DHS confirmed that this employee had gone in for a routine court appointment and was nevertheless detained. They provided no other basis for his detainment. On the contrary, he was a city council employee who was doing everything right. He went to the court when he was asked. I want to be clear, his legal authorization to remain and work in this country until October 2026. After we learned of his detention, we immediately reached out to the ICE facility office at the Bethpage facility. But shockingly, the phone number doesn't even work. It says that the number is disconnected. There is no public information about how to reach someone that is being detained at the Bethpage facility. There's actually no way to reach out to this individual. And I just want to be clear, as Speaker of the City Council, I cannot even call this ICE detention center to collect information or demand his release. I'm an elected official running a body, and I cannot contact a federal facility? What kind of accountability or transparency is that? Can you imagine what it's like for a family whose loved one goes missing? What are his family members going through right now? Family members are trying to get in contact with one another, and ICE is actively trying to do the opposite. That is not how government works, and it's not how our legal system is meant to work. This, by the way, is not an ideological issue on where one stands on immigration. No matter where you fall on the political spectrum, we can at least agree that the federal government should be transparent and accountable. Federal officials have been insisting that the immigration crackdown is targeting the worst of the worst. But according to everything that we know, this man was here legally, and he was legally authorized to work in the United States. He, in fact, signed an attestation in January at the City Council that he has never been arrested. And when we spoke to the Department of Homeland Security, they did not give any other indication that he had been taken in for any other reason. They gave no indication that there were any extenuating circumstances. This man chose to work for the council on behalf of the public, on behalf of New Yorkers. And despite every indication that he was doing everything the right way, he still found himself a victim of egregious government overreach. Our office will continue to monitor this situation closely and ensure that he and his loved ones get the support that they need. This is, I want to say, the first time this has ever happened to a city council employee, and it must be the only time that this ever happens. But unfortunately, this breach of liberty is hardly an exception given recent events. Across the nation, we've seen aggressive escalations by ICE that threaten the freedom and safety of every American. These escalations raise serious concerns about overreach, about the use of excessive force, and about the lack of accountability. As New Yorkers, we will stand up for the rights of every single neighbor and for the dignity that they deserve, no matter their employer and no matter their immigration status. We are a city where everyone belongs, and we should not have to fight for it to be that way, but we will. So before calling on Congressmember Dan Goldman, I just want to recognize we've been joined by my colleague, Councilmember Harvey Epstein, and now it's my pleasure to call on Congressmember Dan Goldman.
Thank you, Speaker, and I'm sorry we have to be here for what is becoming an all too routine situation, which is that a law-abiding immigrant with work authorization who is allowed to be here does the right thing and goes to their required check-in at an ICE facility, and instead of getting rewarded for doing the right thing and following the right way, he is arrested and detained and likely on a path to removal unless it can be stopped. And I want to be very clear. There's no indication that there's anything about this individual other than his immigration status that caused him to be arrested. He is of Venezuelan descent. Venezuela, as we know, is in massive turmoil. The president was just abducted and kidnapped by our United States government. There is a temporary, chaotic government. There is nothing safe and secure about that country that is any different from the situation that led so many Venezuelans to seek refuge here in the United States. I am very concerned because the head of the New York ICE facility here told me last week when I did an unannounced visit to the ICE detention facility that after Nicolas Maduro's removal, the Department of Homeland Security is reconsidering whether or not they can deport Venezuelans back to Venezuela, where to this point, even our government has acknowledged that it is unsafe and inappropriate for them to be removed back there. But instead of finding the worst of the worst, instead of finding people who should be deported if they've committed felonies, ICE is going after New York City public employees. They are going after our neighbors. They are going after our community members. They are going after the easiest prey they can find. And that is the people who are going to court and going to their check-ins. I have introduced a bill to prohibit ICE from making arrests in court or at check-ins because those are the people doing it the right way, many of whom are here legally and are being removed against the law. And that is also going to be the case if we don't stop this individual from being deported, which ICE is going to do as quickly as they possibly can. He has a work visa. He is here lawfully until October of 2026. He is getting no due process. And this is the immigration dragnet that we are living in, where secret, masked police are killing Americans, are yanking anyone they can find out of cars, out of homes, out of courtrooms, excessively beating them, using violence, and now targeting those who are trying to serve the public as employees of the New York City Council. This is unconscionable, and it must stop. And we've now reached a new low where a public government employee is being arrested, trying to do the right thing, taken away from that public service. Imagine someone coming here trying to serve this country and being told, no, I'm sorry, you're going to be yanked away from your job and your family and sent back home. We will continue to fight this. We have reached out to ICE, as Speaker Menin has said, and we will continue to push for not only this person's release, which is so obviously necessary, but for this immigration dragnet to stop. And it is unacceptable and un-American. And we have to continue to raise our voices and to make sure that this stops. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressmember Goldman, for your remarks today. And now I'm going to call on my colleague, Councilmember Alexa Aviles, who chairs the Immigration Committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Good evening. I'm arriving here this late evening from a vigil put together by community members to remember those who have been killed by ICE. Not one individual, but quite a number across the country. In addition to probably hundreds, if not thousands, of abductions and some severe harm that is being perpetrated to people all across this country and in our city. And we have said over and over again, in a city that is made up of 40% of immigrants, it is only but 2 minutes before you are directly impacted by this lawlessness, by this harm, by this complete disregard of our constitutional protections, our norms as a country, our democracy. And so we are horrified that one of our colleagues has also been taken, but we are also here to remind everyone that we will continue to stand up and stand firm to protect the rights and dignity of all people in our city. And this must stop. We must take back our democracy. It is too important and too fragile. And it is the work that we commit to every single day. And when it happens to one of us, it happens to all of us, this injury. In my community, every day, ICE is cited, and every day 2 to 3 people are abducted. No one wants to come out, and this will continue unless we take a stand. So I ask everyone in community to continue to protect each other, communicate with each other, continue to learn your rights and stand firm. And we promise to stand with you and to fight for our rights and our democracy in the city and the dignity of all immigrants. Thank you so much. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm now going to call on Murad from the New York Immigration Coalition, who's been really on the front lines on so many of these issues for the past couple years, unfortunately, on this.
Thank you. And thank you, Speaker Menin, for not just convening this press conference, but also being incredibly tenacious all day today trying to get to the bottom of this, and to Congressman Goldman for really raising the flag on what's happening, and to our council colleagues who continue to shower our city with the love and support that they need. We need to continue to fight forward. This is an administration at the federal level that continues to run afoul of the law. This individual who has dedicated his life to seeking safety had attained it by getting here, and then decided that they wanted to give back to the city of New York and become employed at the city council and give back even more to the general public. And as many people, many New Yorkers, the tens of thousands who show up to immigration court and ICE check-ins, they showed up, and instead of actually going through the process as normal, we'll come back in another date, they were tricked and trapped to get there, and then detained, and now allegedly at MDC. This is the way in which the federal government continues to operate. It is running afoul of every single norm that you can think of. People should have trust in government. They should have trust in what the government tells them is going to happen. If you follow the process, you get through the process, there's an end goal. And what we're seeing is that they are just getting people into the door to then disappear them. This is outrageous. This needs to end. And we're calling on the Department of Homeland Security to release this individual, to immediately release the New York City Council staffer, but also others who are in this situation. And in this moment, we need to continue to push back against these authoritarian tactics that we're seeing day in and day out coming from the federal government. There was, as Councilmember Alexa Aviles mentioned, there was a vigil, and it's still happening as we speak, for the U.S. citizen, Renee Nicole Good, who was shot in the face last week by ICE officers. If we think that that's okay in this country, I don't know if I want to be here. So with that said, I do think that we have a lot of work ahead of us. We need to continue to push forward. And I thank the council again for taking swift action and demanding the release of this individual and others like them. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Murad. And we're now going to hear from Councilmember Harvey Epstein.
I want to really applaud the Speaker for your leadership and Congressman Goldman, Dan, my Congressmember, for all the work you do. I was talking to someone earlier today who's got an appointment Thursday at 9 o'clock, who's a constituent of mine. And you don't really know what to say to them because you can tell them, if you don't show up, you're in trouble. But if you show up, you're in trouble. So our federal government is telling people they put them in a no-win situation. And this is not what government should be doing. If someone has an appointment and is legally here and under work authorization, exactly what our colleague is, and then they show up for their appointment and they get taken anyway, you can't expect people to show up for their appointments. And that means people are going to be further in trouble. And this chaos that the federal government is creating is a chaos that's hurting everyday New Yorkers. And I really want to thank Murad and the New York Immigration Coalition, our colleagues, and the Speaker for our leadership. We need to sound the alarm every single day about the tragedy that the federal government is creating.
So the Speaker's going to briefly reiterate her remarks, and then we're going to do some questions.
Okay, so I really, again, want to thank my colleagues who are here today. This is an untenable situation. The fact that as the Speaker of the City Council, I cannot get any information from ICE and had to call the Department of Homeland Security to get some information is just wholly and completely unacceptable. And we are speaking out tonight really to demand this individual's return. Happy to take any questions.
Hi, Speaker.
Hi.
I guess just some of what you can reveal. Does the
Sure.
Speaker, does the staffer work for a member? Does the staffer work at a central office?
It's a central staff member working as a data analyst
Okay, and do you know how long this person's been working?
for about a year. But to protect this individual's identity, I'm not going to go too much further in terms of comments.
Sure.
Have you all considered any legal action?
We're looking at all options. We found out about this information literally this afternoon. We have been on the phone all afternoon working on this, but we are going to pursue every single option.
Have you been in touch with the Attorney General to speak?
We, again, are reaching out to elected officials to brief everyone. This is a very evolving situation, and we're going to look at every single legal option here.
You might have said this earlier, but what time was the staffer?
The staffer had a court appointment in Bethpage today, this morning. We don't know the exact time. The staffer then called the HR department of the City Council this afternoon and indicated that he had been detained and asked for help. This staffer does have an immigration attorney. We are trying to get in touch with that immigration attorney, but because of the fact that ICE does not even have a working phone number at that detention center, and because the Department of Homeland Security really will not divulge a lot of information, we are still trying to locate the individual's attorney.
How old is the staffer, and where in New York would they live in?
Again, I'm going to be sensitive to, again, we don't want to put any additional jeopardy for this individual, so I'm going to leave it at their City Council staffer who's currently employed as a data analyst at the council.
And where are they being held?
I'm sorry?
Where are they being held?
So originally they were at Bethpage, then they were moved to Varick Street today. So right now they're at Varick Street, but the Department of Homeland Security indicated that they are likely to move this individual and they would not elaborate on additional information.
Would this person be eligible for apartment representation? Is that something?
Yeah, again, certainly, and we're going to look at every single legal option available. I mean, this is an evolving situation, and we're looking at all of our legal options right now.
And I'm not sure if this person has family in New York.
We've been trying to contact their family members who are listed on the council employee form, so we've been working on that this afternoon.
Have these attempts been successful?
So far in the last couple hours, we've been not able to reach the person's family and next of kin, but we are actively working on that.
And then, sorry, I had one other. I know as you came into your speaker role, I don't think you talked a ton about immigration protections or sanctuary status as like the main agenda items for you. Does this shift that?
Look, I absolutely talked about sanctuary city laws. We have very strong sanctuary city laws. I think what has happened here is wholly and completely unconscionable. The fact that a city council employee who went for a court appearance was taken is absolutely unacceptable, and we demand his return.
Does this put, I don't know, any like fire under you to?
Well, I always had fire on the issue. I mean, this is just an absolutely unacceptable situation, and we're not going to tolerate it, and that's why we're speaking out immediately about it.
Finally, Anthony, please.
Speaker, have you spoken to the mayor about this?
We have briefed the mayor. We've briefed the mayor on the situation, and we will work in close contact with the mayor on this.
Is there anything that he's calling for?
Again, we've briefed him, and it's an evolving situation, so we're in very close contact with him on this.
And finally, can maybe someone up there explain what happens once you are detained? How quickly are you removed from the country?
Wanna
You
take
said
that?
you expect some congressmen to be deported. So how fast does this process actually happen?
Well, it's been happening faster and faster, where ICE will take people from check-ins or court appearances and try to whisk them down to Texas or Louisiana, where they have pretty much total control over the immigration judges. As you may have been following, any immigration judge who does not follow the direct orders and wishes of the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, have been fired. And so now they have basically self-selected judges who know that if they don't do what this administration wants, they will be fired. And that's why, in large part, they're sending them down to Texas and Louisiana, where the judges are essentially under their thumb and where they will be removed from, often without any due process.
Thanks, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you want to